All right, we're about to explore a system that goes way, way beyond your daily horoscope. This isn't just about your sun sign. We are diving deep into the ancient and seriously intricate world of Vedic astrology.
So when you hear the word astrology, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it that little blurb you read in a magazine? The one based just on your sun sign? Yeah, for most of us, that's pretty much it. But what if I told you that's barely scratching the surface of a tradition that's, well, thousands of years old? What if it was something so much deeper than that? I mean, imagine having a detailed blueprint of your life's potential. A personalized cosmic map drawn at the exact moment you took your first breath. Well, that is the core idea we're talking about with Vedic astrology. Okay, so how do we actually get beyond just the sun sign? Let's break this thing down. What is Vedic astrology? First off, it is definitely not some new age invention. We're talking about a tradition with literally thousands of years of history. In Sanskrit, it's actually called Jyotisha, which is beautiful. It means the science of light. And at its heart, it's an ancient Indian system. Its whole purpose is to look at the movements of the planets and, this is the crucial part, figure out how their energies might just affect our lives down here on Earth.
Right, so if we're going to understand this whole cosmic blueprint thing, we need to know what it's made of. And it turns out, every single birth chart is built from 3 fundamental pillars. These are the absolute building blocks of the whole system.
And here they are. You've got the 9 planets, which are called the Navagrahas, then you have the 12 zodiac signs, or Rashis, and finally, the 12 houses, known as Bhavas. These 3 things, they work together to create the entire framework. Okay, first up, the 9 Navagrahas. The best way to think about them is as the actors in the big drama of your life. And yeah, this includes the planets we all know, like Mars and Jupiter, but it also includes the Sun and the Moon. And, really importantly, 2 calculated points in space called Rahu and Ketu. They're the Moon's nodes. Every single one of them has its own unique role to play. So if the planets are the actors, then the 12 Rashis, or zodiac signs, are the stage they perform on. Make sense? Each sign, like Aries, Taurus, all of them, has its own special flavor, its own element, whether that's fire, earth, air, or water. And that really colors how any planet placed there is going to behave. And then, finally, you have the 12 bhavas, or houses. Now, this is where it gets super personal, because each house represents a different area of your life. So, for example, the first house, that's you, your personality, yourself. The 4th house is all about home, mother, and your sense of comfort. The 7th, that's marriage and partnerships. And the 10th is your career and public status. So you see, the planets are the actors, the signs are the stage, but the houses are the actual scenes where all the action happens. So, the real magic is how this all comes together, right? At the exact moment you're born, these 3 elements, the planets, signs, and houses, are frozen in time in a very specific arrangement. And that snapshot creates your unique birth chart, which is called a kundalini. Now, if you ever happen to see one of these charts, you'll notice they usually come in one of 2 styles. You've got the diamond-shaped Northern Indian chart, and then the square South Indian chart. And yeah, they look totally different, don't they? But, and this is the key thing to remember, they hold the exact same information. They're just laid out differently. And that difference? It's all about what stays put and what moves. In the North Indian chart, the houses are fixed, they don't move, and the signs rotate through them. But in the South Indian style, it's the opposite. The zodiac signs are locked into their boxes, and the houses are what move. It's really just 2 different ways of mapping the exact same sky at that exact same moment. All right, and this brings us to what might be the single most important idea in all of predictive Vedic astrology. Seriously, it's the difference between understanding who you are versus predicting what happens to you. See, to get the full picture, an astrologer actually has to look at 2 different but related charts. The first one is the Rashi chart. Think of this as the who chart. It tells you who you are. It's all about which zodiac signs the planets were in when you were born. It shows your basic personality, your core nature, your built-in strengths and weaknesses. This is the blueprint of your character. But your character is only half the story, right? That's where the Bhava chart comes in. This one is all about the what and the when. This chart shows which house, which area of your life each planet is influencing. This is the chart astrologers turn to when they want to predict what will happen in your career or your marriage, and, just as important, when it's likely to unfold.
And this is exactly why you need both charts. They're both absolutely essential. In fact, the source material says it perfectly. The Rashi chart alone cannot determine whether an event will happen. Just think about that for a second. You can have all the potential in the world. That's your Rashi chart. But for an event to actually happen in your life, that potential needs to be activated in the right house in the Vava chart.
Okay, so if the Bhava chart tells us what could happen, how in the world do we know when? Well, this is where the chart stops being just a static snapshot of your birth and becomes a dynamic timeline for your whole life. One of the main tools for this is something called the Vimshatari Dasha system. It's a really unique predictive system that basically maps out planetary time cycles. It shows you which planet's energy is going to be front and center at different points in your life. You could almost think of it as the master schedule for your life's blueprint.
So each planet gets its own major period of influence, called a Mahadasha. And these periods are not all the same length, not by a long shot. For example, the Venus period lasts for a full 20 years. Saturn's is 19 years. But the Sun's period is much shorter, just 6 years.
It is an incredibly detailed system. And what's really mind-blowing is that one full cycle, going through all the planetary periods, adds up to a total of 120 years. It was literally designed to map out an entire human life.
And there's one last piece to this predictive puzzle, something called planetary aspects. Basically, this is the idea that planets can sort of see or cast their influence onto other houses in your chart. So a planet sitting in one house might be able to aspect or influence your career house and your relationship house, creating a direct link between those two areas of your life.
So, when you put it all together, you've got the actors, the stage, the different scenes of your life, and this master timeline. What you end up with is this incredibly intricate map. Which kind of leads us to a final thought to leave you with. If your life is a story, could Vedic astrology be its table of contents, outlining all the chapters, the characters, and the major plot points, maybe even before they happen?